Before the storm. Before the storm. Hold your breath. Right, you're countdown. Kia ora everybody, and welcome to the Waipuna Halswell-Hornby-Riccarton Community Board. And today, as we just want to take the opportunity to have a moment's silence for the victim of the horrific stabbing in our ward and the whānau as well. So we'll just pause for a minute's silence. Thank you. Thank you very much. Moving on then with our agenda. Just hope we don't have any more things like that happening anywhere in the world, let alone in our ward. So the agenda is apologies, and we have an apology from Catherine Chu for early departure, 6:45, 5:45. And we also have an apology from Helen Broughton, who would like to be with us today via Zoom, but she has technical problems and can't join us today as well. So would somebody like to move we accept those apologies? Move Mark Peters, seconded by Anne Galloway. Any discussion? I'll put the motion in. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against of any? Declare that carried. Moving on then to declarations of interest. Has anybody got any interest they wish to declare in any matter that's before us today? If so, say so now or forever hold your peace. Okay, no declarations of interest, so we're moving on into the confirmation of our previous minutes of the 14th of June. Thanks staff once again for the very accurate record of their meetings. Would somebody like to move that we accept those minutes as true and correct? We moved Mark Peters, seconded by Gamal. Thanks, brother. Any discussion? I'll put the motion in. All those in favour say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Against of any? Carried. Moving on then now to our first exciting matter that we've got before us today, and that's our public forum. And we've got the Riccarton Racecourse trustees, Bob Shearing and the world famous Tim Mills. Thank you very much for taking your time to join us today and tell us about the exciting things that are happening at our historic Riccarton Racecourse. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and board members. For those that don't know me, my name is Bob Shearing, and sat around this table for a while, some years ago.
Yes, you did.
And joining me, as Mike's already said, is Tim Mills. I'm here as a member of the Christchurch Racecourse Trust, which owns the land that the racecourse sits on. Tim's here as secretary to the trust and also chief executive of the Jockey Club. And Tim will talk about the two issues that are on our agenda shortly, but just a quick bit of background on the trust. For those that are interested, horse racing originally started in Canterbury back in the mid-1800s and took place on Hagley Park for quite a few years. Eventually a piece of land came up out in the country at the time, and it was secured via an Act of Parliament, and it's still controlled under an Act of Parliament. A board of trustees was appointed at the time, and that continues today. And of course, the Jockey Club has continued to be the main tenant of the land ever since. The Act has been updated a number of times, but that relationship still stands. The trust looks after land, i.e. trees and fences and things that happen around the property, but the club owns virtually all the buildings and obviously the track, and it's their business to look after and maintain those buildings. As I'm sure you're all aware, the Trust sold off 40 hectares back in 2018, 17, 18 to Ngāi Tahu, and was able to set aside a significant amount of funding, which is there. The principle's there not to be touched, and interest goes to the benefit of thoroughbred racing in Canterbury. And probably it was our first payment, wasn't it, for synthetic track was identified, and Tim will tell you about that under a report that was done for New Zealand horse racing. And the track got some funding via the government's regional development planning, $10 million. They were $3 million short, which the Trust was able to come up with.
Yep.
And so the track, as you'll hear in a minute, is finished and being used now. So Tim, over to you.
Yep. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. We thought it was timely that we perhaps met with you just to give you a bit of a briefing on two significant and historic developments at the Riccarton Park Racecourse. 165 years plus of history there, making it New Zealand's oldest continuous racecourse. We used to sort of boast we're New Zealand's oldest continuous land-based sports ground, but a friend of mine who played rugby at Collingwood claims that Collingwood Rugby Ground might stump us. But nevertheless, we've been on the property for a lengthy period of time and one of New Zealand's oldest sports grounds and sports clubs. And we've had two major developments. One is completed and one is progressing that is possibly worthy of you being aware of in your roles. One was the construction of a synthetic racetrack, a poly track. These are a type of racecourse that has been developed in the UK originally, but has been in England and Australia and other parts of the racing world for quite some time. They were identified as one of the 17 recommendations of the Massara report, which was a report done into New Zealand racing by an eminent Australian racing official called John Massara to revitalise the sport in the industry of horse racing in New Zealand. And one of those 17 planks was to establish 3 synthetic race courses throughout New Zealand at Cambridge, Awapuni, Palmerston North and Riccarton Park here in Christchurch. In May 2020, the Minister for Racing announced funding for those tracks, as Bob alluded to, and the trustees found the difference for us. Work commenced in January 2021. It was completed by August 2021. And the new track opened for training and trials pretty much at the Grand National meeting of August 2021. The track is a key focal point in our progression, in that being a synthetic track, it doesn't suffer the wear and tear that turf does. And so it's a real asset when the weather turns nasty, as it is today. We had trials there today, which wouldn't have gone ahead under normal circumstances, but we're able to go to on the poly track. The first race meeting on the poly track was held on the Thursday, the 5th of May this year, and we now run fortnightly right through to September. And the 5th meeting we've got coming up is on Thursday. A number of benefits to our part of Christchurch is that there's now 31 race meetings in Christchurch, at Riccarton Park. That's up from 20 in the 2020-21 season. Yeah. And that provides increased opportunity for those people that derive their income and their livelihoods from the sport and the business of racing. And just by way of interest, we have in excess of 700 people derive some form of income from the operation of the Riccarton Park Racecourse and from the operation of the Canterbury Jockey Club. So as well as being a sporting facility that many of you possibly are aware of through Cup and Show Week, there is this activity happening every day, particularly training from anywhere from 4 o'clock in the morning till 11 o'clock in the morning. And if you look at the Riccarton Park Racecourse as being a small business park, every trainer there is a business person, and there's something like 30 small businesses operating at the Riccarton Racecourse every morning, let alone the race days, which, as I say, are now 31. So the development of the synthetic track is a huge asset to our operation and what we can provide to the economy and the sporting and social structure of Christchurch, and in particular, the ward that you guys represent. So that's the development of the finished project, which, as I say, started January 21 and is now operating fully now. The other major thing we've got on our program is the 100-year-old Grand National Stand, or its original name, the Public Grandstand at Riccarton Racecourse. It was built in 1922 as a purpose-built facility for participating in the sport of horse racing at that time, when the only time you could do so was to go to the track live. Racing over the years has changed quite significantly and has evolved to things like TV monitors, trackside TV, pub tabs, the internet, cell phones. When I was a boy, you watched a program called The Jetsons cartoon, where they used to show something on a screen that you could watch in your hand. We thought that was, science fiction in a cartoon, and it's pretty much what you do now with your iPhones. And racing participates through all of those things, so it's not absolutely necessary for people to go to the track to participate live. They can do so in the off-course manner, and in fact, many, many do. So the big grandstands of yesteryear that were built for those halcyon days of on-course attendance were only getting partially used before we had our significant incident in 12 years ago, which was the Christchurch earthquakes. I don't need to tell you all about that, but this building did suffer significant damage in those earthquakes. And as a result of the damage and the low percentage of new building standard, it's been withdrawn from public use for about the last 7 or 8 years. Costings to repair and strengthen it to the required percentage of New Zealand of new building standards are massive and are at a level that would financially cripple the Canterbury Jockey Club if it was to try and do that. And I suppose one of the things is effectively protecting a building that was fit for purpose for 50 to 100 years ago would result in the Jockey Club not being able to undertake the purpose for which it was put in place, which is to conduct the sport, and would also put at risk the livelihood of those people that I mentioned. So the club has come to a very hard and difficult decision that the demolition of the building is the only option that we have. I'd say I've got a fraudulent slip there. I say in the best interest of the club, but the best interest of the club, its stakeholders and its purpose of being, which is to conduct the sport and undertake. However, we have a master plan, which is a redevelopment of the site so that it'll be purpose built for the next 50 years so that the club can continue to grow and evolve and ensure that Christchurch can continue, or the Canterbury Jockey Club in Christchurch can continue to play the role that it does in the sporting, social and economic fabric of Christchurch, Canterbury, and indeed New Zealand. And we're currently in the process of applying for a building consent to demolish the building. And that's been publicly notified basically as we speak, and it closed, and we've got submissions both for and against. And as of today, we had a meeting with our advisors and we're proceeding as to how best to manage that. So, ladies and gentlemen, there is hopefully within the required time frame, Mr. Chairman, a brief snapshot of one very successful improvement and evolution to the facility, and one that we hope we can get over the line, which will have a real tinge of sadness, but will also have a real positive outlook for how we move forward on that property that sits in your ward.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Is there any quick questions of Tim or Bob? Andre?
Can I ask about the function centre?
Yeah, for sure.
I'm just wondering how things are tracking. Obviously, there would have been a lot of disruptions over the last couple of years. Just wondering how you're looking for the rest of the year, getting plenty of bookings again.
Yeah, activity's starting to ramp up. We did our absolute best and we were very successful in keeping all our staff on board through the COVID situation, and particularly chefs. That's been a real plus for us. We're getting a lot of activity, a lot of inquiries as people are starting to branch out again. And, again, for those, the question's a very good one, because we only race, we race a lot of times, 31 times. So that leaves about 310 days of the year when we want to use the property for other facilities and weddings, conferences, events. These type of meetings are things that we can do that and continue to employ people and develop it. So yeah, it's starting to really pick up again, which is really positive.
Good to hear.
Thanks very much. I'm just aware of time, but anyway, thanks very much for taking the time out of your busy life to come and share that with us today, because it is an icon of this board area. Absolutely, totally. And
Yep.
we're very fortunate to have it here.
Well, thank you very much for hearing us. That's
No, good as gold. Thanks, Mike, and thanks, board members. Appreciate the time, and I hope it's just a bit of information. That's what we just thought will come along. Thanks, guys.
Very much.
Possibly something we should do
Thank
every
you.
3 or 4 years is just give you an update on what we are doing.
Okay, thanks very much, guys.
Thank you.
Now it's the opportunity for Mark Duff from the Greater Hornby Residents Association, who wants to address the board regarding the Matariki Fun Day at South Hornby School on Saturday, the 18th of June. We're in your hands. And I hope you realise, sorry guys, that these public forums are only supposed to be 5 minutes, but anyway,
Thank
due to the importance,
Appreciate your indulgence.
due to the importance of you two famous men, we'll extend the opportunity. Thank you. Can't say the same about you, Mark.
The racing community will be the mouth for the south. I probably did well to stick to the
We know that. We know that. We listened to you on a Saturday morning.
Thank you.
Chairperson and board members, on behalf of the Greater Hornby Residents Association, we just wanted to come along and thank you very much for your support with the grant that we got last year for the Matariki Fun Day. You remember there was some debate about increasing our grant, and without that money that was granted on that day, we wouldn't have been able to go ahead with the Matariki Day that we had. It was a magnificent day, great day for the community. One of the first Matariki events, I think, in the city, if not New Zealand. So it was nice to have it in Hornby. I also mentioned at a council meeting how important community grants are and that it allows us to get extra funding out of the community. And I can give you an example from when I presented at council. We got about another $4,000 to $5,000 out of the community because the council had given us the money that gave us the confidence to go ahead with the grant. And just finally, I would like to thank the community board staff, particularly Sam and Bailey, and the support they gave us. They made me look very intelligent to my committee when I went back with the answers, but to be honest, the answers actually come from Sam and Bailey. And yeah, just once again, thank you very much for your support and allowing us to be able to put that day on.
And thank you very much for allowing us to be part of it as well.
Do you want me to try
Much
that thing?
appreciate it.
Okay.
Do you want me to try your
I'll try if you like.
Hey, if you share your screen, if you click on Zoom,
Yeah, I'm doing it.
you don't need to share the screen for Zoom. You just need to make your screen big so it's on Zoom.
Can I ask a question in the meantime?
Yep.
Usually after you've had an event in Hornby, I ask who won the gumboot throwing. So I'd like to do the same again today.
Wasn't one this year.
I hear Jimmy's online. Jimmy didn't feel he had the
Sorry.
practice to be able to go ahead and throw his gumboot.
Sorry, Matt.
It sounds like a former winner who doesn't ever want to lose.
I'm getting older this year, so I'm not joining the gumboot. Quite interesting. Several years ago, I partake of. Very good. Very good.
Just good.
I failed.
And so did I.
Right, I'll press the button, see if it works.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Wonderful.
Thank you for not showing us elected members in embarrassing situations.
Please make sure you got more of that next time.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
But I would just, I'll report on that elected members information exchange anyway. Now it gives me time and to, sorry?
Have we got Ross?
We've got Ross.
Oh,
Henry,
Ross.
Greg.
Oh, okay.
In Anna?
No, I didn't know
Anna's
Ross
the
was.
deputy.
Yeah,
It's not,
okay,
it's not on the.
okay, Ross.
Yeah, it's kind of-
Thanks, Ross. I didn't have anything.
Yes, good evening. Mine's just very, very brief. This occurred some months ago during the COVID period, where we discussed putting in for an application for parking restrictions on Gilberthorpe and Waterloo roads. I've discussed this with Donnell Hanrahan. He can see no problems with what we're talking about. The area is from Gregory Ave back to the railway line and back down Waterloo Road to Kyle Park that we're talking about. I've got a map with markings on it. During the COVID lockdown, the Greater Hornby Residents Association discussed parking restrictions at both Waterloo Road and Gilberthorpe Road. This came about due to housing intensification plans for this area, since being increased to a radius of 1.8 kilometres from the Hornby hub. Number 4 Gilberthorpe Road and 302 Waterloo Roads have been purchased for such intensification. They're back onto each other and they're right next to a church. This is due to start in August of this year. At a meeting last Sunday, it was confirmed parking restrictions should be sorted out for the area marked on the accompanying map for 240-minute restriction, as indicated for both Gilberthorpe and Waterloo Road, with the exception of a 30-minute park between the entrance of number 4 Gilberthorpe and the bus stop. 30-minute park should be reserved for police so they can monitor the intersection. This intersection sees many accidents and has also seen death. The reason for the restrictions is to ensure that sufficient parking is kept available for the Filipino church congregation, which meets on Sunday mornings, then afterwards have lunch. In the afternoon, the Samoan congregation, which also use this church, have their meetings. There are also meetings on occasional weekday evenings and on Saturdays. So it's a very busy period or place for these people with no parking. They'd be had it. I've actually got a small map there. On another slightly matter, I'd like to say thanks very much for the assistance that the board gave us on the Denton Park stand. Since the signage went up on there with the Commonwealth Games sign and the new Denton Park sign itself, there has been no graffiti. It was all stopped. And that's it.
Thanks very much, Ross.
I can leave this with you guys.
Yes, we'll receive that and ask for, yeah.
Yep.
Attach it to the minutes.
We'll attach it to the minutes, Ross.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Okay, now we've got Greg Olive wants to talk to us about the directional sign on Halswell Junction Road. Welcome to the table, Greg.
Thank you.
And we have got PowerPoint, haven't we? Yeah. Yeah. So this is something that's been causing ongoing issues. So we're trying to get some clear clarification. Sorry. Oh, well done, Greg.
Out of one PowerPoint application in time.
So Greg's, as we know, some people interpret things in different ways. So what we're wanting is clarification on what not only Greg, but some of us board members also see that there is issue there that really seriously needs to be looked at. So what's happening there, Matthew? Have we got
Loading Greg's slides up.
Oh, here we go.
You can probably start anyway.
Yeah, okay then, Greg.
Yeah, I'll just draw your attention to the response that I got from the from City Council in regards to the location. I mean, it says under the TCD rules that 80 to 100, 120 metres positioning. I mean, it depends on where you take the datum from, but it's 65 to 70 metres from the, from the roundabout. And basically, I mean, they've indicated here that it's approximate, but I mean, when you sort of go into the actual, the rule itself, it states quite clearly that it's never to be placed anything less than the minimum,
Correct.
distance. So I mean, essentially, it doesn't comply, in accordance with the TCD manual, and there's no constraint for it to be placed accordingly.
No.
And what I see from that is that it leads into the point of being a resource consent issue, because obviously it's a non-complying, with the TCD manual. Therefore, we should have been, sort of engaged in, obviously the location and placement of that sign with regards to the resource consent. And that's never happened. Yeah. So, I mean, really, I think it's pretty straightforward.
Yep.
I mean, it's non-compliant.
And actually, thanks for breaking that down, so that we can have a look at that anyway, and see how those rules are. But anyway, is there any questions of Greg?
It didn't come up.
We'll
Mike, have we got something to sort out for that?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Great.
At the end of this, Greg's public forum,
yep,
I'm going to suggest that the board request staff confer with Kotahi and advise the board on whether the advanced directional sign on Halswell Junction Road complies with all the relevant technical standards for signage on an arterial road with a speed limit of 50 kilometres per hour, in particular to its terms of its distance from the intersection with John Patterson Drive.
Were we asking if it's been consented or a requirement for consent?
Well, that'll come out of that anyway. That will come out of that, because it hasn't been consented, and the staff are of the opinion that it doesn't need a consent. But with some of the interpretation that Greg's got in those documents that he brought to us today, it does show that certain signs in certain locations do need consent. So, and so anyway, that needs to be clarified. So we'll just go with that.
Can we ask for that consent at the same time? Ask for the whether there was a requirement, and if there was, and if there has been a consent, can we have a copy?
There hasn't been a consent.
Debbie, we've told you this 4 or 5 times through email and through a memo, that, and so you know the answer to this one, but at the minute, so the sign doesn't require a consent. We've given you the details as to why the sign doesn't require a consent.
I understand that, Matthew.
If I can finish
that we had, you had mentioned that would be a question that we would be able to put forward. So I'm only following on from what you had recommended.
Debbie, I didn't recommend that at the meeting. What I said at the meeting was, you can ask the question, and the response will be, it doesn't require consent. Now, what Greg has presented to us tonight, he is saying the sign is in the wrong place. It isn't 80 metres. It is closer to the intersection. And Greg is saying, as a result of that, the sign is not compliant. And he's saying, because the sign is not compliant, it may require a consent. Right. So the question that Mike is asking, which is can staff clarify the distance of the sign, will lead on to, does it require a consent or not? So if you ask us, does the sign require a consent at the moment? As I've told you, and as the memo has stated, no, it doesn't, because we believe the sign's in the right place. So if you follow what Mike said, we'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
Could I just add that I just don't believe it's the size of the sign is required in that location. I mean, it's a huge sign. It's bigger than a motorway sign, I mean, in a open road environment. I mean, you can't go, it's self-explanatory. You can't go anywhere other than straight ahead. I mean, or because there's no intersecting major roads or anything like that. So there's no conflict. It's self-explanatory.
Can we show that in Greg's presentation, the one about on the motorway? Matthew?
Yeah.
Yep. So this is a directional sign here
It will appear in a second.
in Christchurch on a motorway, not on a city council road, i.e. Halswell Junction Road.
No, that's not there.
That one?
That relates to.
Oh, that's relates to the next thing. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I take it all back. But anyway, Greg and I have been out and we've looked at other locations.
Correct.
In areas, and the signage there says a lot more and a hell of a lot less.
Well, it's absent. It was absent, wasn't it, Mike? On Springs Road, Sheens Road. I mean, it's in a higher speed zone. There's no signage to any scale like that.
No, there's nothing. Nothing at all.
No.
Okay, thanks very much.
Oh.
Question from.
Yeah, just one quick question.
Yeah.
I'm gathering that your preference for that sign would be not to get a consent to stay where it is, but to actually have it moved to be compliant.
Well, it needs to be, obviously relocated to be compliant. I mean, but then again, I still on the opinion that it's way in excess of what's required for that location.
Yep.
Well in excess.
Yep. And
I think so. Do we have any idea how much it would cost to move it?
Oh, look, they'll throw a stupid number at you, but yeah, just try and
there has been quotes of
well, the sign itself is $2,000 for a sign that size. The sign,
just the sign itself.
I've had that quoted, so you can only just imagine what the rest of it might be valued at. I mean, they threw some stupid number at it.
What was the stupid number?
Oh, it was the number that if it was a cantilevered sign, it would cost about $35,000 or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
$80,000 to $100,000.
And
they wanted me to pay
$80,000 to $100,000 to put it on a cantilever like we see all around the place, so it hangs out over the motorway or over the city council road to tell people. Yes, so $80,000 to $100,000.
Bear in mind, it's not a regulatory sign in a sense. It's an AD sign. It's your lower tier sign, so it's only a directional sign. It's not a mandatory sign like a stop sign or giveaway or anything like that.
Okay, Andre, you've got a question?
Yes, just a quick point to this. So what we're proposing to do is to clarify points from NZTA. So I'm pretty sure we spoke about this issue at the board meeting about 8 months ago. I'm pretty sure it was November. And we spent about 20 minutes deciding what we're going to do. And we decided to request a meeting with NZTA, even though they were already refusing to meet with us. So we've gone around in circles for a very, very, very long time. Whereas what we should have done at that time was simply clarified the points that Greg has made with NZTA.
And I've requested, and on that time I requested a meeting with NZTA too, and they never.
Yeah, we've been requesting a meeting with the NZTA for a very, very long time. At that point, they were already refusing, but we decided to continue to try for this meeting. NZTA weren't willing to have, instead of just clarifying Greg's points. We're here 8 months later, going around in circles again. Can I urge the board that we just simply go and clarify these points? This is totally ridiculous and getting out of control now. Yes. Let's go and clarify the points.
Just in response,
please clarify the points.
Just in response, you have clarified the response. You have clarified the points. You have received a memo. The staff's advice, which took with NZTA.
Yeah, but that staff claimed it to be they claimed it to be a dual carriageway road. It's not. It's a single lane road. It's a single lane approach. It's a single lane, with a merging lane on the opposite side. It's a single lane road. It's not a dual carriageway road.
But
that's what they're basing all their assumptions on.
They do, because they mentioned in the memo a dual carriageway road. It's not a dual carriageway road.
It's simply not. I mean, in anyone's terms.
And you don't have to be a traffic engineer to have a look and see whether that's a dual carriageway road or not, because it's clearly not.
Yeah.
And
Have we had correspondence from City Council about this?
yes, through
staff.
From staff, yes, we have.
So the relationship manager with NZTA, Kotahi, and the person that managed the Southern Motorway has provided the memo for us.
Yes. And that memo
Remind us what it said.
The memo said the sign complied effectively, and it didn't need consent.
It just really, all it did was reiterated the spin that NZTA's put on it. So
yes, and it's got some comments in that report that says should be.
So
example should be.
So to move this forward,
we're moving it forward.
The action that I've heard from the board tonight is the board requests that staff confer with Waka Kotahi and advise the board on whether the sign complies with all relevant technical standards, with the speed limit of 50 kilometres and in terms of the distance from the intersection. So we will go back to NZTA and we will, and we will say we've provided this memo in the first place. Can you confirm that this is correct? Can you confirm the distance? And we'll report back to the board.
Good. Because we don't want to keep coming back on this. And this is what our board have said time and time again. When these things come up, do it once and do it properly, and then things wouldn't have to come back and make the residents' lives a misery by having to suffer and stress over something like this. So thanks very much, Greg.
Thank you. Thanks.
Do you want to keep Greg there?
Greg, you're going to be a deputation on the next item, because we're going to pop to
Item 5.
item 5, because the Richmond Ave intersection. So that's the next item on our agenda.
Okay.
So are board members comfortable with that, popping to that now? Yep. Okay. So the reports were in your hands again, Greg.
Okay. Yeah. Just in relation to, obviously what they're asking you to propose or just to endorse. It's clearly it's going to be completely inadequate to control the speed through there. They're basing essentially their assumptions or their determination on it, based on outdated data. That was 2020. It's obviously that people through there have familiarised themselves with it now. They realise they can do what they like. They don't have to slow down one iota. And it's, what they actually did put in place is completely ineffective. If you go into the Land Transport Act and everything like that, they have to put in an effective, speed control measure. They've made admissions here that the average mean speed is 47 kilometres per hour. If you go once again into the TCD manual, it says here that the mean posted speed should match the posted speed, and then 85 percentile should be within 10%. Well, it doesn't meet that criteria. So therefore, they're going to have to put other means in place to actually slow the traffic down. Just putting a painted sign is not going to do it. They've ignored completely the two safety audits that were completed. One was in 2019, and it states in here that it needs a threshold treatment and narrowing of the road and some more effective controls and stuff like that. Then 2020, the same thing. 21st of October, the same comment was made that they need to put in a threshold treatment. They completely ignored it. It was a waste of resources. Why have you got a safety audit when they just ignore it? But I think, before they actually, any determination as to, this proposal that they've, come up with is implemented, is they need to do another safety audit report. They need to get at least, 7 days of measurements as to what the average speeds and mean speeds are through there before they can actually implement. Because I mean that's outdated and it's no longer reliable information, to support a proposal that they're asking you to support. You go into. I mean, like I say, there could be a multitude of places you could go into if you want to, but I mean, even they're not even in complying with the land transport rule. It states that when you're putting in speed control measures and everything, objective of the rule is it's supposed to be effective. I mean, I'm referring initially, to the speeds table that they've put in already, which does nothing, absolutely nothing. I mean, they haven't. It's supposed to be effective. But it actually does nothing. I mean, like I say, I'll step back a wee bit. I mean, the thing is with collecting of the data, I mean, obviously we've got buses and stuff, they need the heavy vehicle counts and stuff like that to quantify, what measures they need to do to implement. But one thing they are forgetting and they're not taking into consideration is actually the adjacent land use. And that's, obviously with mine, I mean, I've got a very, very advanced subdivision proposal for my site there. But as it is now, I've got an access onto that road, section of road, which they're indicating that's travelling well in excess of the posted speed and everything, is that that can be a right of way. And as a right, I can actually have 15 lots exiting that access. I mean, that's not what I'm proposing at this stage, but I've got 5 sections fronting onto that road, and I've got 3 sections that are right of way that will be exiting onto that road.
On the bend.
Well, not on the bend, but on that straight section of road. But like I say, when they do all this stuff, they have to take all those aspects into consideration. And they've obviously dismissed that. They've made a statement in here that, due to, what does it say here? Due to lack of any adjacent residential development. But I mean, before you can actually implement any speed control measures or something like that, or whatever, they have to put all that in. I mean, there's a, you can go through, obviously the speed limit, they're setting speed limits, rules, and they have to do all that.
Yep.
So that's completely, omitted. Yeah. So,
I was just asked to ask you, do you have a subdivision consent? But you said at the start of this that you...
Well, that land was consented. Yeah, it had been consented. That was consented in 2016 by Fulton Hogan. Obviously, I've picked that up from since then, and with the obviously exchange land from the taking of my land, and therefore, like I say, I mean, a lot of the work's already been completed on that. It's just finalising the site layout. But I mean, the thing is, I don't see it as being an issue because they're saying there's not an issue.
Okay.
So, but I'm just saying that they have to take those considerations.
No, thanks for clarifying that, Greg. Okay. Anything else? No, thanks very much once again, Greg, for bringing that to our attention. And we'll move now to Anna Jessup. Would you like to come and join us, Anna? And you want to talk to us about the Richmond Ave options to reduce traffic speed while entering the Night Stream subdivision. All right, and welcome.
Thank you. Hi, and thank you for your time. My name is Anna, and I'm a resident of the Night Stream subdivision. We love it here, and it's a great place to live. I note the purpose of the community board is to represent and act as an advocate for the interests of the community. This is a great forum for the residents to be able to raise issues, and then for council staff and technical experts to investigate as needed. Due to some very one-sided communications to the community board, I believe that the Richmond Ave John Patterson Drive issue is being misrepresented as a community issue rather than in fact being an individual or two with vested interests. I'm here to present an alternate view of the Richmond Avenue intersection. And while I'm here alone today, feedback from other residents suggests that I'm not an isolated member of this community speaking on this viewpoint. Feedback has been provided selectively in this forum. I won't speak for long, as I'm here to note the extensive time and expense that has been spent on this intersection. despite the traffic engineers noting in previous meetings, memos and reports that there is not a speeding issue within this intersection. So much time over an extended period has been spent by council staff and this community board at the expense of other issues impacting a wider subset of the community. I was unable to attend the last community meeting in February when this intersection was discussed. However, I did watch the meeting online and read the agenda and minutes. The report at this meeting presented multiple speed calming measures ranging in cost from $5,000 to $30,000. However, this report did not present a status quo option. The status quo is a logical resolution for this intersection, given the data detailing the lack of speeding in the area. The technical experts repeatedly mentioned in their reports at this February meeting, and I quote, "Further work doesn't stack up as this is not an area needing road safety improvements when you compare it to other areas around the city where there are serious crashes occurring." Further, the data shows that the average speed along the residential section of Richmond Ave is just above 40 kilometres an hour and is in line with other 40k areas around the city, showing there is not an issue at hand, but rather an out of proportion reaction from individual residents. Logically, any action taken by council should be based on data, speed, and technical analysis by experienced and qualified people. The technical experts in this case are not able to justify the spend to themselves or to Waka Kotahi due to the above data showing there is no issue. Therefore, this matter should be put to rest in this forum. I could list numerous intersections in the community board area and within Christchurch that, in my opinion, warrant safety improvements. However, I'm not going to tell you where to spend this funding, as I'm not a technical expert. It was also suggested at the February meeting that if the council roading fund is not available due to limited evidence of safety issues, that the discretionary fund could be used. I strongly believe that the discretionary fund should not be used as a bypass to the official method. This discretionary funding can and should be spent in a way that benefits a large cross-section of the Waipuna Halswell-Hornby-Riccarton Community Board area, not just a couple of residents. In conclusion, the data shows that there is no speeding issue on Richmond, and further time and tens of thousands of dollars on paint or more signage or audit reports will not make any difference to the safety of the approach to this section of the neighbourhood. I'm not asking you to consult more. I'm detailing that there is no evidence of the impact to the wider community and request that no further time or money is spent on this matter.
Okay, thanks very much, Anna. Is there any questions? No questions? Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on then now to the issue. We're going into item 8, if that's okay with the meeting. So we're going to the Richmond Ave now. Okay, so we've got our traffic engineers here to present our report. Thank you. So we've got Gautam, and who have you got?
Steve. Steve, right?
Yeah, of course it is. Thanks for taking your mask off, Steve.
Recognise me now.
Okay, we're in your hands. Everybody's read the report. And we've read the recommendations. We've heard the deputations. So is there any questions of staff at this stage?
Yes.
In the original plan was a coloured speed table. So my question is, was a coloured speed table not contracted, or was a coloured speed table contracted and then not delivered?
Good question.
It's a good question. I can't answer that. Okay.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, got questions, and I'm just trying to find them. So is this the fourth report that you've brought to our community board about this issue? Yeah. So can you give us any idea of the resource that's been used for these 4 reports in terms of the time and also money that's already been invested in this?
Yeah, so what we'd say is each report in excuse me, a lot of the reports that you'll see coming to you as a board, there is an item on resources towards the back of the report. Normally the report's about $750 to $1,000 per report, depending on the level of work that goes into it. This last one's probably about 2.5K's worth of work. And then we work that out based on hourly rates of staff and so on. And our hourly rates of staff are quite different to what they would be if we got consultants on board. If you can imagine getting a typical traffic engineering consultant on board, that'd be anything from $170 to $200 an hour. So it does. These things do cost, unfortunately. But that's not unfortunately, because actually, you know, they are important bits of work, but they do cost.
There hasn't been full reports though, has there? We had a briefing and we came to our board regarding this report and preparation of this report. So we're talking about one report here, as opposed to reports.
There's probably been 3 to 4 representations of us at the community board.
Very.
Reports from various.
And also to add, like we had the help of our design team and our costing team to design the preferred options and also to prepare detailed estimates of the various options, which was presented in the February meeting as well. So these are some things which contributed to the cost.
Okay.
Another question.
Yes, Anne, another question.
First of all, sorry, I didn't even say hi. Hello. Nice to see you both. The money for something like this comes from the minor road safety budget, correct? Yeah. And that's limited to $300,000 for the whole city.
Yes.
Okay. So any money that's spent somewhere in one area obviously means that money can't be spent in another area. So you've said that this is of low risk compared to other areas of the city, this area, this intersection. Can you tell us some other areas that you know that could do with some safety treatments from this fund that might miss out because of this?
Actually, I just have a tentative list of high-risk intersections and locations which we are in various stages.
I don't think that's an appropriate question to ask staff on this report. The report that's here before us today is to address this issue. We don't want a list of other areas of the city that need work doing on their traffic, because that's not what we're spending our time at this meeting for. So have you got any further questions, Anne?
Perhaps I could reframe it in a different way, another question.
Are there examples of in the board area?
In the board, yes. Is there, for example, another area? At the moment, we've got concerns about Sutherland's Mill, Sparks Road intersection. Would that be an area that would benefit from this funding for any temporary safety treatments?
What I'd say that the funding that we would use to do temporary safety treatments there would come out of this budget.
That's the question I've asked. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Hey, Chair, I have used a digital raise up by my hand.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I can't see it, Jimmy. I've got a different screen in front of me. Sorry. I'm using Matthew's screen.
May I speak now?
Yes.
Okay.
And we'll come back to you, Andre.
May I ask the officer, because based on your report, particular paragraph 1.3 and 3.2 follow the end question. If you particular the investigation, so this area, the safety risk being found to be very, very low. But why you still recommend those multiple options on the officer's report? I just don't know what's the rationale. I just want to know what's the reason.
That's actually a really, really good question, Councillor.
Jimmy's asking why you're doing anything at all.
I think, as we've said all along, our preference would be to do nothing. But I think we said at one of the previous briefings, we'd be prepared to give a small amount of money to do something here. We've heard from obviously 2 people or 2 petitions this evening. There has been a lot of noise around this intersection, and at the end of the day, we are there to work for the community. So we do want to do something to try and improve it for the people who live in the area. We don't think there's a an issue there. But if we can do something that's cheap, that actually has an impact, then I think that's a good outcome. And moreover, and this isn't probably the best way of looking at things, we're actually spending a lot of money dealing with this all the time, not just the reports, but an awful lot of time goes into general correspondence and issues around this. So if we can do something that helps, that doesn't cost too much money, that's probably not a bad outcome.
Does that answer your question, Jimmy?
Yeah, but I'm concerned even small amount of money, but still money, all those money from the repair. I just want to know, because I fully believe the staff, you have prioritized in the, particular for the traffic or international prioritize, which the section is more prioritized. Whether those the information, we can have a look compared to this one. No, because based on the ANA, pure with the deputy, he still thought, this is the low kind of the risk, and also she emphasized should be those the evidence, data, and also the staff. You have an expert, give us information rather than just, to compromise. This is my concern. Yes.
Is that a concern or a question, Jimmy?
Yeah, this also the question whether have a officer have a prioritized, particularly in our area, our community board area intersection. Okay. Compared to this one, have a prioritized ranking, their ranking, this number, which number, whether it's more higher risk than this one, which one? I just want to know.
What we've got before us today, Jimmy, is a report on this particular intersection. So that's what we've got to concentrate on, in my opinion.
Yeah, I know. But looks like based on 1.3 and 3.2, they probably status quo is based on the solution.
Can I clarify an answer to the question Jimmy asked? The question Jimmy asked was why are we here? And considering this, how do we end up here? The reason for that is we had a meeting on March last year, 2021. It was with Richard Osborne there, wasn't it? Head of Transport.
Yes.
And at that meeting, council staff, including Richard Osborne, told the residents that they will, not that they would, not that they might, but that they will, that council will present speed calming measures to the community board in a report within 4 to 8 weeks. That's what the community were told at that meeting by council staff. So that is why we're here today. Because that's what was assured to residents and the community board from the head of Christchurch City Council Transport. Okay. That's why we are here today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
I know, Andre. Thank you. But after the traffic calm, now the average under the 40 per hour. Yeah. Even sometimes 47, but still is the low risk.
Yeah.
The data in here show low risk.
Yes, I know, but I've got a different opinion there, Jimmy, but I don't want to go into that here today because we're here to address the report that's here. And in my opinion, if we cast our minds back, we wanted this intersection and this opening of this road to be done once and done it right, and we failed. Well, the organisation failed us. That's why we're here time after time after time, because they didn't actually shut up, Mike, don't say any more. You know how I feel. Okay. So that's why we're here, Jimmy. And
I've got a question, Mike.
It's a traffic that's coming. My question is, why wasn't consideration given to where the traffic comes off the high-speed environment straight away there, rather than go around a bend before they hit the traffic calming?
I think if you look at it,
that's what the safety audit suggested.
Yeah, and that's almost what we're trying to do with this option, is to put something at the speed threshold change. So it's, I don't know how many meters, but it's a good few meters prior to the hump.
We don't see that in this report in front of us here today. We don't see that at all.
Apologies for that. That's
okay.
That's us not explaining it very well in here.
No.
So the option Gautam's presenting here is for a flush median.
Red pavement marking with the speed limit at the location where the speed.
Should I suggest that you, if that's what you wanted to bring to us today, but you haven't, maybe we should just leave this lay on the table until you do come back with something that actually does meet the.
Sorry, Chair.
Yep.
This does do that. It just might not be as clear. So the resolutions in here do say that's what we're going to do. It just might not.
Yeah, I was referring. Sorry, I was referring to where you come off the motorway at speed should be right there. As soon as you get to John Patterson, as soon as you get there, rather than go around the bend before you hit the speed hump.
The problem with that is
that's what the safety audit is.
Oh, we're actually putting it where the safety audit would recommend.
Okay.
So we are.
Can you
doing
leave
that.
it? Can you leave that picture up for my question?
Okay. So, and you've got, or do you want
well, I've had
then
a
I'll go
question.
to
Maybe
Debbie.
Debbie have a question first, and you can come back to me. If you
Okay, that's fine. Debbie.
I'm just having difficulty looking at my recommendations here at the agenda at the same time. So the staff's recommendation is at 2.1, 2 and 3. It doesn't go on to look at the 4.3, the planted berm, which is what I think you're talking about on that corner on that picture there, Mike, where we had always had discussion just to the right hand side of that 40 kilometre side, all that we were hoping to have that all planted, which would slow give the visual aspect of traffic moving into residential area. So what I'm asking, what I'm asking is this part of the option that the staff are presenting to us tonight?
No.
So
the image that's on the screen is the option.
Pardon?
The image that is on the screen, or was on the screen a second ago, sorry, that is the option that we're recommending.
So what I'm asking is, because we've talked about this for a long time amongst board members and members of the community, that was, I think, if I recollect, meant to be a joint effort or solely from NZT. I can't quite recollect. I think you mentioned something about it too, Mark, a wee while ago. And it would just emphasise that slowing down as well. So if we're going to vote on it tonight, are we able to make an amendment to include that? Otherwise, as per what you've suggested, Mark, Mike, if you're wanting to lay it on the table, and perhaps we could include that at a later date. But
you know,
if we're
voting I've got a thing about leaving things lay on the table.
Yeah, I know, but you suggested
we should have the information right before us so that we don't have to leave something lay on the table.
I agree.
Yeah, hang on.
Just to clarify something, you have a report before you, which is as a result of a workshop that you've had.
Yeah.
The report before you has 4 options. That's so speed cushions, red surfacing on the ramps, and a planted berm, and it's got a status quo option. You've heard from the staff who already today have said, actually, we think maintain status quo is the best option because we don't think that this is a huge priority. However, at a public meeting, we said that we would do something. As a result, they have put a recommendation before you around what they're suggesting that you do. And that is the recommendation that is 1, 2, and 3.
And that was the recommendations that came out of our board workshop on this. Out of that workshop that the board members attended, we came up with those 4 options from memory.
Yeah, what I recollect though is it was always meant to be part of the conclusion.
Okay.
With NZTA about the planted berm. Anyway, I'm happy to go with the rest of the board on this.
Okay. And
can I just have a clarification about why status quo isn't one of the recommendations?
It is.
Well, it's not 1, 2, and 3.
Oh no,
it's an option.
That's one of the options.
Yeah, so
but it's not a recommendation.
Sorry, I'm going to jump in to clarify. The report, section 4 says, here are your different options.
Yes.
You've got 4 different options.
Yes.
The recommendation is the staff's preferred option. So
right.
the staff is saying, actually,
do something.
We've said that we will do something. We think that of doing something, this is your best bet. This is the best option. This is what we, in our professional advice, is going to have the biggest impact. The status quo, do nothing. We've said that we will do something. So we've already made a public statement of that, which is why we are where we are today.
So
Okay.
if I were to, my confusion is that when we normally have options before us, one of them is to, as we vote, is on 1, 2, 3, or 4. So that's where my confusion is.
Oh,
If I were to just want to vote for the status quo, where would I do that?
You just
So you
vote down the recommendation.
Vote down the recommendations.
No, so you could say you could move an amendment. You could move a resolution. So nothing's been moved.
No.
So you could move a resolution that staff that the Halswell-Hornby-Riccarton Community Board do nothing and maintain status quo.
Right, I would like to do that, please.
If you
I hear what you're saying.
Hang on.
There's usually an option that says no option. There's usually an option that says do nothing.
But we had a workshop, and this was the options that came out of our workshop that we all had and agreed. They are the options that we got here to consider it today. Now, if we were going to do a status quo, that should have been done at the workshop with respect to board members.
If I could just add one thing as well, Chair, and a lot of you may not know, I think Greg earlier pointed to the land transport rule and the setting of speed limits rule. As some of you will know, that changed last month.
Yes.
And there's a whole new setting of speed limits rule. As part of that, we are actually going to be looking to change the speed limit along Richmond Avenue next year as well, to 30. And what you do is when you change a bit of a speed limit, it has a knock-on effect further out. So we actually, even by changing the 30 outside the schools, that's actually going to have a slowing effect further out from that. And then the 40 will have a slowing effect further out from that. So there are going to be
respect.
Obviously, we're not here to approve or discuss,
no.
but I just thought that's useful information.
If you say that that's going to have a more calming effect and the speed limit will drop, when you're coming off the motorway at 100k, people aren't going to realise that they're going. There's a 30k limit outside the school. For goodness' sake, they're still going to come off and go into Richmond Ave at the speed that they're comfortable with.
There'll be additional signage, whether they're flashing or electronic, that would accompany the 30k zone.
Well, why haven't we got that in now then? But when it's 40, flashing sign saying it's 40.
Because the way the rule been set previously, you only do a flashing 40 sign if it's in a 50k zone, if that makes sense. Whereas at the moment, the whole zone's 40, so you don't need to do it.
Yeah, but you're coming off of 50, you're coming off 2 speed limits, you're coming off of 50 and 100.
Yeah.
Yes. Anyway,
but I just thought that was useful information for you, that there will be works outside the school to reduce that speed limit.
So can I actually foreshadow what I'm suggesting that we run with? And that is the Waipuna Halswell-Hornby-Riccarton Community Board approve 1, 2, 3, and we add a 4th that will say request staff to undertake speed survey in 6 months after the installation of the treatments referred to in 1, 2, and 3, provided the results of the survey and provide the survey results of the survey to the community board for consideration. So that's what I'm suggesting that we ask, that we do. We do what the workshop wanted us to do, and then we have a look at speed survey in 6 months' time to see if it's actually achieved the effects that we wanted it to do. In that time, maybe the speed limit is in place outside the schools, and then we will see when the speed survey is done in 6 months' time whether that's effective or not. But anyway, that's where I'm suggesting we go, rather than do nothing and leave it till. Because I think if an issue comes to our board and we decide to do nothing, and then something happens,
blood's on our hands.
Sorry, Chair, could I make a recommendation to that? Is say that within 6 months' time, or after the speed limit's changed, whichever comes first.
No, well, I just say in 6 months' time.
Yep.
Yeah. Yes. Yep. Okay.
No, that's fine.
Yep. Well, I'm not asking you.
No.
I'm going to ask the board, the board members, whether we either leave this, turn it down and do nothing, which is not what the outcome of the workshop we had was, or we go with the recommendations 1, 2, and 3 in our report, with the additional one, which I've just read out. Request. Have we got that up on the screen? Actually. The request that staff undertake a speed review 6 months after the installation of the treatments referred to 1, 2 and 3 of this report and provide those results in the survey to the community board for consideration. So that's where I'm hoping it will go anyway at this point in time today.
So can I ask, is it okay if I ask a further question of staff?
Yes,
just
because we're not in debate yet.
No.
Nothing's been moved or seconded yet.
Just in terms of, Steve, what you were saying about the 30Ks
Yeah.
coming in next and your sense that that will slow everything down.
Yeah.
Is it a good use of resource to put something in place that actually isn't going to be needed, given the fact, you know, that 30K could slow things down anyway?
What I'd say is that I can't predict what the 30K is going to look like exactly. That is going to be focused around the school. I think, as I said earlier, it's difficult for us to justify spending money here as it is, but if we can do something and that has even has a minor impact, that can only be beneficial as long as we don't spend too much doing so.
So just what you've got ahead in front of us here is around about 15,000. Yeah.
Okay, everybody clear? Is there any other questions of staff? One, Mark Peters.
I guess I've got one burning question in my mind.
Oh, and Jimmy, sorry.
Why has it taken us this long to get to this point? Beggars belief to me.
Well, I think we've been trying to speak openly. We've been pushing back on this for quite a long time because it's not something we think is good value for money. But that has never really been, our response has never really been accepted. So we've kept. This is why we've been to the board so many times on this issue. I appreciate what you said earlier around. We said we'd come back within 8 weeks, and that's just a resourcing issue, and I can only apologise for that. But yeah, we're here now.
But you also just pushing back on it.
And
Pardon?
But you also said you're pushing back on it.
When I say pushing back on it, what I'm trying to say is that we would have, as staff, we would have been happy with the do nothing option a year ago.
Yeah, I mean, we did indicate that obviously, as you're aware, there were staff changes as well in the team with Barry and myself, and also in the first presentation which I did to the board regarding this one, we did indicate do nothing as the preferred option at that time. So as Steve said, that was our standpoint at.
And then we had the workshop and that came back.
Yes.
So when I said pushback, that wasn't. I mean, it wasn't pushback to delay. That was pushback on the.
That answered your question, mate.
It does kind of give us a bit more insight into that.
Okay.
Could I just ask one final question from my ink corner? If you were building that speed table today, would you build it as ineffectual as you did?
Well, we actually, during construction, we actually had it remodeled once already.
Yes.
Yeah. And yeah, so it wasn't ideal. It wasn't as high as it could have been. Unfortunately, if we wanted to rebuild that now, the cost would be astronomical.
Thank you.
Okay, Matthew's just saying that this is what the board wanted in the first place, but it wasn't what we wanted in the first place. The first place we wanted the three-legged roundabout, which then came back to this.
No.
Unless you can prove me wrong, Matthew.
Well, I can, Mr. Chair, because I've got the notes. So there was a briefing at Tahapua, and at Tahapua there were 2 board members in particular. One who is no longer part of the community board, and another member who is part of the community board. And they asked staff, Mike Calvert was the person that they asked, to delay letting the contract out. They asked for a staff meeting on site. The 2 board members went out with staff and requested that a table be built. That was the previous board. It wasn't this board. That slowed the implementation. It slowed down the opening of the intersection. Subsequently, because that was slowed down, the intersection wasn't opened. And when this board came in and was elected and came in, one of the very first reports that you had before you was a table, and the table had been built. And this board then debated whether the table should have been built, which was what the previous board had requested and had made a change for. And that's where you started to talk around a three-legged roundabout and different options. That's it. So I've got the notes and the documents which will show that if we want to go there, but I'm sure we don't.
I can remember before it came up, I drove around Vanguard Drive area where we've got three-legged roundabouts, took photos of those three-legged roundabouts and said right from day one, as soon as they mentioned that they were going to open up.
That's for this board.
Sorry?
That was the start of this board. It was. Trust me.
Okay.
I was at the site meeting.
Okay.
Hey, Chair.
Yes, Jimmy.
One more question. Okay. May I ask the staff, based on your paragraph 3.2, the last sentence, you mentioned presented to community board potential options could lower the vehicle operating speed along the Richmond Avenue. I just want to know, because in here, the staff, the recommendation is 3 options. But if we review these 3 options, it's a pickup from the paragraph 5.6, the option 1, option 2, and option 4. My question is whether just, for instance, like whether option 1, option 1 regarding to this, the particular flash, the medium, the penalty along this street, still can, the lower the vehicle operation speed, am I right? Or you have to, your recommendation have to, to pick up the multiple options, just can lower the vehicle operating speed. Is my question.
I'd say it will have an impact.
Yep.
So Jimmy's just saying, could we just go with option 1?
Yeah, just one option. Whether can achieve the same goal or not.
Yeah,
that's what we're doing.
Well, I'm just hearing from staff that is exactly what we're doing.
Yep. Just for but it's the option 2 is the with the 40k 40 marked on the road.
I think Jimmy might be saying, can we just have the painted medium? Clarify that with him. I think that
Jimmy, you just saying about the painted medium and don't put the paint the 40k on the road and don't do the graded vertical alignment humps. Is that what you're saying, Jimmy?
Yeah, my question is, because the staff already investigate, this street is very risk is very low, but they have to know based on the just few member of community and the community board advice, then staff mention would like to input a potential option can lower the vehicle. My question is whether option 1 can achieve this goal, can lower the vehicle operating speed.
Well,
or we have to the 3 options. Option 1, whether can meet the goal.
Yes, I'll let staff answer that.
Actually, the option 1, as we said, is flush median through the curve and the red pavement marking. So with the flush median alone, it gives a visually narrow road which encourages lower speed, and the 40 kilometer with the red pavement background on the ground, it gives a better indication of the new speed limit as people approach the subdivision. So
and I thought that's what we wanted to achieve with the 40k speed limit on the painted on the road.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's a recommendation, but we wouldn't get there if it.
Okay, so there's a whole package.
Medium and not the 40k speed limit.
Okay.
Okay, so we're getting a bit hung up here. Andre,
I'd like to move the staff recommendation.
Still in questions.
We're still in questions.
Oh, the question.
We'll make it the last one.
The question that Mark had emailed through was the cost breakdown. For example, the cost without the speed hump signs. So yeah, I imagine that the median and red 40 sign would need to be done at the same time, which would then achieve it. But
yes, so
hump signs.
So based on our estimates, excuse me. So yes, as we indicated, the red pavement marking, it costs more because of its anti-frictional paint. But were we looking at the cost of the signs? Did you mean?
Yeah, just this.
Just the signs. Actually, we have 2 signs along with installation and posts as 1160 Plus, I mean, that was when it was estimated earlier this year. Now there have been cost raises, so we would add around
$11.60.
1160, 1,160.
The most expensive part would be the red surfacing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I remember a few months ago in the briefing, the price we got on the 2 speed bump signs was something more like 2,500.
No, because that would have included that would have included traffic management as well.
Yeah.
So we had traffic management calculated for each option separately. So now that we are doing 2 options together, the traffic management cost is going to be related almost around the same.
Gotcha.
So yes, we have added a 15% approximate increase, more or less approximate increase to allow for the cost raises in the last few months. So that's what.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, no further questions. Thanks very much, staff, for your report.
Thank you.
As now, Debbie, did you want to move the recommendation?
Yeah, can I speak to it or does that come later?
Are you going to move?
Yeah,
just
staff
1, 2, and
recommendation.
3? Are you just going to move 1, 2, and 3? Because I'm suggesting that we have the 4, which is what we've got up on the screen here now in front of us.
Can we screen share so I can see?
It's what I read out before, Deb, but Faye's getting it up on the screen now. It says we approve 1, 2, 3, and 4 is that we request staff undertake a speed survey 6 months after the installation of the treatments referred to in 1, 2, and 3, and provide the results of the survey to the board for consideration.
Yep, happy for the 4.
So happy with the 4? So you're
I'm happy to move the 4.
Okay, and is Mark Peters seconding that?
Yeah.
Seconded by Mark.
Can I speak to it?
Yes, absolutely.
So I've heard what everybody has said, including what Anne has said, what the staff have said, and I understand Anne's concerns and Jimmy's. But like the staff have said, if we did nothing, it could end up costing more with further investigation, with the community coming back to us demanding, further investigation and that definitely wanting things done. I think what the staff have done has been fair and reasonable, because if we don't go ahead and do this, it's something that the staff can just finish, and let's see what the outcome is in 6 months' time, which is your number 4 there on moving it.
Yes.
So, and I think it would make it safer, and it is a package to have all of the 4 in there. And it is going to be a growth area, so we are future-proofing that corner as well.
Yep. Okay, Deb.
Thanks.
Thank you. Mark, are you wanting to speak to this?
Yeah, no, I'll certainly speak to it. I've found this one of the most frustrating experiences I've had on this board this term, and I'm dismayed that it's taken us this long to get to this point. And I just really feel that maybe the previous board and this board, we've actually let that community down. And I pick up on Mike's recurring suggestion that when we do things, when we build things, we need to build them right. And we need to listen to our community in doing it. And I'm still not happy with the speed table that's there. I'm reluctantly supporting tonight these provisions that we're trying to make good some of what we've done. I'm continually frustrated at how we treat speed limitations and the fact that we often will just put up a sign and expect everyone to, just do as you're told, when actually we should be building the environment to encourage the speed. And I'm sorry, but from my traffic management experience, being a temperature management trainer, I know that when you're trying to restrict people's speed, you restrict their environment and make them feel like they want to do it. We haven't done that, and we're not doing that. So I'm very frustrated with what we've done and what we're doing, but I'll reluctantly support this tonight, simply to try and have some go forward so that we can, I guess, be seen to be doing something to try and right the situation.
Okay.
I fully support the looking at it in 6 months' time to try and see if it is having any effect at all.
Thank you. Is there any further debate on this? Andre, yes?
Yeah, so I think some of the main issues here is that we had a community meeting, residents were told there'd be a report in 4 to 8 weeks, but that didn't happen. The board, we were informed that we're getting a coloured speed table that would be visible, and that didn't happen either. So what we need to avoid is as a council and community was making commitments to residents that just aren't met. We just can't continue doing that. So I do believe there is an issue with speeds here, like there is in many areas. Sure, some areas are worse, but there is an issue with speeds here, and you just go stand there, you do see plenty of speed. It is an issue. In most parts of Christchurch, you come off the motorway, you go into a new subdivision, you do see speed calming measures. You see a great big bright red 40 on the road. You'll see good signage. All sorts of areas around Christchurch, you've got all sorts of speed calming measures. There's many areas with dozens and dozens of speed tables, dozens of speed bumps. Those things don't exist in Halswell. They barely exist in Hornby as well, I would add. We've really struggled, in my view, to get speed calming measures where they're needed throughout Halswell. And there's many areas that could certainly do with them.
Okay.
So it would be tricky to be voting against finally being able to do something here, even if it is just paint on the road. But all the feedback I've had is that what's being proposed here won't actually address speeds as such. It'll provide a 40 and some median marking on the road, but it won't actually address the issue. And it's a significant amount of money to throw at that. So my concern is that if we went ahead with it, then council would say, well, the job's been done. We'll put the report forward, we'll put the improvements forward, the job's been done. And my concern is that if we say no, then council would say, well, we put the ideas there and the community board said no. So job's now done. I don't feel like us going ahead or not going ahead with this will actually sort of finish the job as such or deliver on the commitments that were originally made. So I wouldn't be comfortable voting in support of or against, in fact, which is why I will unfortunately be abstaining today.
Okay. Jimmy?
Yes, okay. Yes, if we have asked many questions from the staff and also staff reports very clearly, particularly if we review the 3.2 in here, staff particularly emphasize after the investigation regarding to this location, the safety risk were found to be very low, especially when compared with many other locations in the city. We are not even compared others. We are all aware, compare with some other intersection in our world, in our community, the area we're all aware, quite a few intersection, quite severe, the risk than this one. So the evidence data, that's where we the important. However, staff particularly mentioned that's due to regular feedback from a member of the community and advice from the community board. So staff just present the information to the community board. So we are aware. So I'm still very reluctant to support this one, particularly if we review the resources, in here, at least if we installation, these multiple options, at least $12,500. That's the implementation, but the maintenance year is per annual is the 250. This still, is from the repair. However, this from the community request. So today I support, but from now on I still prefer, as a elect member, even as the staff, we should, based on this evidence, this data, we make the appropriate decision. Otherwise, I'm concerned. Maybe some intersection, they may be severe. Car crash already happened. It's my view. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jimmy. Anne?
So Waterloo Road, Sutherland's, Milnes, Sparks intersection, Lodestar outside Kilmarnock, Hallswell Road crossing outside school, Sparks Road, the Hallswell Road intersection, Skyhook Drive are just examples of some of the issues that we have in our wards and all our community board area that need attention and are reliant on the safety improvements funding. And I cannot support actions that are not needed. The evidence is not there to support us spending any more money here. We have put at least $8,000 worth of staff time into this plus. And as we've heard from Anna, there is a voice in the community that seems to be loud and seems to be calling for this. There are many others who do not agree that this is needed. Our job is to use resource in an equitable and just manner. And I do not believe that this treatment is needed. And I believe that by doing that, we're taking resource away from other areas that need it more. So I will not be supporting any further action here. We can see right through the report, safety risks were found to be very low. It's something that's repeated over and over again. We've heard from staff. They don't believe that we need to do anything here. So could we just do our job as a community board and use the resource that we have in a way that will actually benefit the whole community in a way that is equitable and just.
Okay, any other speakers? You haven't heard from me yet. But anyway, and you're about to, I support the recommendation, which is the staff's recommendation, which is our workshop's recommendation. And I also support that we have a look at this in 6 months' time once this work's done. And I think then we'll be doing justice to our community. That this didn't come out of one person grizzling or groaning about anything at all. This has came from where the Richmond Ave was a cul-de-sac, and it didn't join with John Patterson. It was a closed road. This debate started when they opened up John Patterson into that area. So that's where it all started. So and that was when our community board said, when you do this, do it once and do it right. And that's when we got into this thing where we're running around chasing our tails. But anyway, I believe that the traffic that's coming off the motorway and off Hallswell Junction Road and into the motorway at this location that we're talking about is far too high still. And I think that we do need to do whatever we can to keep that speed down. And if we don't, and if there's a major accident, like there could well be, because the people in the area now know how virtually ineffective that speed hump is, that they know how fast they can go around there when they come off the motorway. So they go around there, and then when they start getting closer to the schools in the more built-up residential area, they start slowing down. The evidence is there that that's what's happening. So I'm not saying don't do anything at all. I'm saying let's do this. It's needed. Do it now, and then see how it happens in 6 months' time. So if there's is there any other debate on this? No further debate.
你要不要先关一下？我这听不到，我要表决了。等一下。
Jimmy, you need to mute you.
Yeah, okay. So if there's no further debate, then I'll put the motion.
Can we call a division on this by chance?
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
I was going to ask that.
Better division called for.
Yeah.
So yes, we'll have to see if we've got staff here that can help us actually call a division, because we're a bit lack on staff here now. Thanks very much to the City Council's organisation for taking staff away from our board meetings.
Yeah. We'll just do it.
We can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I won't be able to bring it up on the screen, but we'll do it. Yep.
Okay, so a division's been called for. All those, yeah.
No.
We've got to call out the names. Yep. Faye?
Yeah, we'll go around the table. So we'll go
alphabetical order.
Peters.
Yep, I'm in favour.
Yep. Galloway?
No.
Moore?
Abstain.
Thank you. Jimmy?
I'm also abstain.
Okay, and Debbie?
And then we've got the mail.
Four.
I support the recommendation.
Gamal supports, and Mike?
Absolutely 100% support the recommendation.
So that is passed by
4 to
4
1.
votes to 1.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Moving on then now to the next item on the agenda, which is the thanks, team.
Thank you.
Item 6 is the presentation of petitions. There are none. And moving on then to the proposed road names, 25 Milne Road. And
I'll move that.
Been moved by Decadence.
I'm second.
Seconded by Andre. Is there any discussion? Well, I'll put the motion in. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Is there any carried? Thank you. Moving on then to the discretionary response fund applications. And we've all read those and see how very, very helpful they will be.
Happy to move.
Andre's moved.
I'm second.
Seconded, no, it was seconded by Mark.
Seconded in the room.
Yeah, sorry, Jimmy. The funding applications have been moved and seconded.
Yep.
Is there any discussion?
No.
No debate. I'll put the recommendation in. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, there any? Carried. Thank you very much. Now we're moving on to the most exciting part of our meeting, which is the elected members information exchange. And who wants to go first?
I will.
Okay, Debbie.
Only very brief, and sorry, I didn't realise our meeting was going to go on, so I may be an early departure depending how long we go. Just wondering, I've put in several requests for gutter clearing, especially around the rivers, and it doesn't appear that there's any council regular cleanups. Are staff able to enlighten me there, or are we relying as a community to regularly send snap send solves to council to get it sorted so that the flooding doesn't occur, to keep our drains free? That's one question, if we could have that followed up, because it doesn't appear to, everywhere I go, there doesn't seem to be this regular maintenance. And I understand we're cutting back, but cutting back on clearing leaves when the expense of fixing flooding is much more costly. I'd love some feedback on that, Ken.
Do you want me to respond, Debbie?
If you have an answer right now, that would be lovely.
So my answer would be both. So there is regular maintenance. There are maintenance contractors that go round, but if you see stuff, please snap send solve it. Yeah. And so the more you snap send solve, the more we know where the problem areas are, and the more that they'll get more attention.
Yeah.
Just to say, somebody we had a snap send solve done earlier on tonight, which I'm sure will come up later, around a hole in a fence in Tockburn Park. That's been fixed. People are out there doing it now. So snap send solved earlier this afternoon. Somebody's come out and doing it straight away.
Brilliant.
So it's good.
Just another thought that has come to mind is the AED, those heart machines that we have in all council facilities. Is there any chance that we can have them attached to the outside of the building? Because it doesn't seem to be helpful if it's inside.
So you're talking about defibrillators, and you're talking about being on the outside of the building.
Yeah, we've got them inside, and that's great for when the buildings are open. But if people, you have your defibrillator app, which shows you where they are. If you could break into the glass to access it, it's just a shame that they're locked away, and I understand. But if we've got security cameras, we could always just sample one and go and hope that there's no.
Well, at the meeting we were at on Sunday, of course, there's word around there that we'll be able to buy defibrillators ourselves for about $70 or $90. personal
Really?
ones to carry around. Absolutely. You were there at the meeting when it was discussed, Debbie.
I know, but I didn't realise they were starting to become that cheap, or is it a different version?
That was the version that was quoted at the meeting. There was something that you can carry around in your glove box of your car. Okay.
I just know that the more specialised ones are like a couple of thousand, but maybe they've come down in price. But I am just wondering if that is an option that we could look into, and perhaps just have it on the outside of one building to see how we go for safety reasons.
Anything else?
No, that's all from me. Thank you.
Okay. Good. Because I'm just want to creep. I'm echoing like crazy.
Is that me?
Yeah.
You are echoing.
Okay, so we're going to the echo chamber.
Sorry,
That's fine.
I had it by
Okay.
mistake. I was trying to.
Your glasses got fogged up because you got your mask on.
We're good.
Okay, well, I've got one anyway, which is boy races. It's becoming more and more of a problem. And I don't know what we can actually do about it as a community board. But I think that's something that we need to have a look at and see what we can do, because it's not only in our ward, even though there is a hell of a lot of it in our ward, but it's something that that people are getting very frustrated about. And it's not only that, it's dangerous, because in Halswell area as well, you know, by Aidenfield, they're actually using the sunken berms and stuff like that to actually go in and churn up. So it's getting, really out of hand.
Can I?
So, yep. So that's one of the things that I wanted to bring up. And the other thing really is a community safety meeting. And we've talked about that before. And we were going to go down that. It was one of our board priorities as well, was community safety. So, and as a result, well, it's not as a result, we're already planning that anyway, before we had this horrific event this weekend where we had one of our residents murdered in the footpath on the side of the road. So that's the two from me for now. Okay, Mark, you next. And then we've got Jimmy as well.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to report that there was a fantastic Matariki event, not just at Greater Hornby, but also at Templeton Residents Association. They had a very effective wee gathering on a local reserve, and probably had close to 50 odd people there for a small township of Templeton. I thought that was a very good turnout on a frosty morning. Had a barbecue, and it was very well received by everyone. So hats off to the TRA for that. You've already mentioned there, and I'm pleased to hear, the Sockburn paddling pool fence being repaired. That was raised by a Sockburn resident in response to one of my Facebook posts, and pleased to hear that that's been actioned so quickly. That's absolutely fantastic.
I didn't know that it had been actioned.
But young Matt was saying just then that there'd been a snap scene solved done this afternoon. And
good.
So Mr. Peters sent it through, I don't know, 3 o'clock,
yep,
3:30. I put it through to our parks manager on this side of the city, and he's got his staff onto it straight away. So I'm not saying it's fixed.
No,
I'm saying it's raised, staff are on it, and they're going to get onto it just straight away.
Because that's a real drowning, isn't it? And I guess the second part of that input was, can we plan to have that demolished as soon as possible?
Yes.
Was the request from the resident. It's been an eyesore there for, what is it, 15 years?
We're working on that, aren't we, Matthew?
Yeah, so we're starting to have more and more input around this there. Please try and clean it up, and maybe not do the final fix up for it, but at least get it out of the way.
Correct.
I mean, enough.
Well and truly overdue. Yes, carry on, Mark.
Further to our meeting at the Greater Hornby Residents Association on Sunday, there was an absolutely fantastic report tabled or presented to the meeting by Mark Duff. And I asked at the meeting, I said, look, it's such a good report with so many action points in it. Would you mind if I table it at our board meeting or follow up from staff? To which Mark was more than happy to. So I will pass this on to Faye and the team, and if they could work their way through and feedback what they're able to out of this report, that would be truly appreciated by us, I think, as a board. Because it's interesting in this report, the Greater Hornby Residents Association seem to get more information out of council than we do as a board. So hopefully we can have that, I guess, improved going forward.
Pretty good.
I mean, one of the big ones that I'm interested in is the Boston Street Bund, Boston Ave Bund, and the information that the Greater Hornby Residents Association get from Jonathan Gregg directly is phenomenal, and it's great. But it'll be nice to have all that fed to the board at the same time, so that we can at least see what's going on. Because that was one of the big issues that I started to get stuck into even before I was elected, because that was a festering sore. And Peter Dow did a lot of research into that. And when Peter Dow can't find an answer to something, there's something hiding.
Yes, there is. We do know what's under there, but I wouldn't like to mention it.
No, so it's good to hear that it's being fronted up, and it would be good to see that move forward to more resolution through the coming months. And one last thing that has been mentioned, and it's a shame we're not in PX about now. But
we're not.
No, we're not.
We can take it offline.
We can take it offline?
Yep.
Okay, because there's a message sent through to the mayor, which I believe we're waiting for a response to, and Matthew's aware of this, and we'll talk about that offline.
Okay.
Yep, I'll give you an update once the meeting finishes.
Very good.
Okay, thank you. Anne?
Just Te Rama Mai, the lighting festival in town is fabulous and worth a trip in. It's on until the 3rd of July, so it's great. It's wonderful.
I'm doing it on Saturday night for my birthday.
Perfect. Excellent. Ngā Whānau hosted the zone finals last week. Looked like thousands of primary school kids there. And it usually happens at Halswell Quarry Park, which causes a lot of damage and is really problematic because there's no parking, and it just worked really well at Ngā Whānau. So it's great to see that's been, Andre has also been talking about, it's great to see Ngā Whānau getting much more of a focus, which is good. And Marsh's Road, we've finally got some pipes, they call them pipes across the road, where they are counting the traffic going along there, because that road's becoming a thoroughfare, and also it's along the edges of the road, there's a lot of damage being done to the verge. It's quite dangerous. So, so working on that.
Good.
So just to let you know that's happening.
Excellent. Thank you.
Jimmy and Gamal.
Jimmy and then Gamal.
Okay, yeah, just briefly. You're all aware last week the council adopted the annual plan, because Anne and myself, we raised all the community board and also the Greater Hornby Residents Association, those are submissions, and even including the Templeton one. That's an issue because this is a lengthy discussion. So every issue we have the office of response. Just want to let you know. But it's not only the putting the meeting notes and also amendment. Those three items, particularly is long. We concern the issue flooding the Golden F, the issue. We have further positive response. The Star Matthew sent the email to the community board. Just want to let you know. The other one regarding to N, particular race, the Miles, Southern and Sparks intersection. They also have a kind of a positive the response regarding this issue. And also regarding the tree canopy, because the Hornby and Lingwu, lowest tree canopy, the percentage, is the lowest one. Also, we have put into the notes, because the now start where those proposed urban forest plan will be put into as the high priority, focus on Hornby and also the Lingwu. Last one is you're aware, because of Tekaha, the graduate multi-use arena stadium, council already put on the consultation on the 10th of June. So due date will be on 5th of July, only 1 week. So if our elected member, if engage with the community or individual, the kind of the residents, just encourage them, to go to the council website to feedback. It's not put on the Facebook, stadium. That's not count. Only on the council website, feedback to the council, they will be counted.
Okay, then,
Just
Jimmy.
want to this one, yeah, okay,
Yeah,
thank you, that's my briefly.
Thank you very much, Jimmy. And we move on then to Gamal, and then we've got Andre.
Thank you, Mike, everyone. I've just sent an email to Matthew. Thank you for replying to my email about the update on Dean's Avenue crossing. And can you please update us also on when it is scheduled to be done by the CRAF? And also about the underground services in...
So there's a joint meeting with the Fenton board on Monday.
We've got an answer coming to that now, Gamal.
Oh, okay.
There's a joint meeting with the other community board on Monday.
Yeah, Monday, 5th of July.
So this Monday coming, I think it's the 4th of July.
Yes, I think it's the 4th of July.
Fenton and the Waipuna boards are meeting, and that's where you'll finalise your craft programme. And once it's finalised, staff will start the implementation. Yeah, and that's where Bradshaw Terrace and where the crossing are both part of the craft money, and they were both actions in your board plan at the start of the term.
If you ask staff on that occasion, they'll be able to give you a bit more time,
more detailed timelines.
Detailed timelines.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. And also about the underground services and around Riccarton and Dean's Avenue, Riccarton Road and Dean's Avenue.
Yes.
Like in Brookworth Place and other small little streets in the area. So we attended the AGM, me and Helen, for Dean's Avenue Precinct Society. And they were, a discussion about this.
Yes, well, as Helen's, as a result of that, Gamal, Helen sent through a list of points that we want some answers to, including what you've just said, Gamal. So that's actually in hand now as we speak, hopefully.
Yeah, thank you. Also the sale yards, the sale yard.
That was on it too.
Yeah, the sale yard was on that list, Gamal.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, that's from me today. Thank you.
Okay, all ka pai, brother.
Thank you.
Andre?
Thank you. I had a couple of photos.
Come in.
If they already, start with photos. Photo number one. So this was an issue that was raised with myself, indeed, and Vent Longhurst recently. Now, this walkway here is very, very well used at Greenaway Park in Longhurst. Very well used. It's between streets. It's between shops. People get to the bus stop, all sorts. The photo above is taken at 11 p.m. last night. As you can see, it is not very well lit. That photo is not edited in any way. It is indeed very dark. So the obvious question here is around some form of lighting in there, whether it's possible, whether it's doable. It certainly isn't overly safe as it stands currently. So even at 6 p.m. or 6 in the morning, residents don't really feel safe walking through there, and it's not hard to see why.
I might be able to answer that question, Andre.
Well, if we could follow it up for advice.
Yes,
yep.
No, that's fair enough.
If there's a policy, then if we get a response explaining that, and we can go from there. And now, this isn't some of my best photography work, but the issue I've tried to capture here. So this is the corner of Aidenfield Drive and Donovan Place. This isn't at a time where cars are parked there, but Aidenfield Drive is a road that has obvious speed issues. It's very wide. It's very easy to speed down. Cars easily doing 60, 70 plus down it. So the issue we've got is that when cars are parked by the corner here, it blocks visibility. So people are struggling to get in and out. Their visibility is blocked on a 60, 70k road and is causing issues. The reason people are parking there is because they go and visit the stormwater basins here. So they are, parking up around here, and it is causing visibility issues. And the photo on the bottom right, that is just a wee bit further down Donovan Place, and I'm advised that parking along that corner is becoming an issue as well. So, Aidenfield Drive in future is going to need, you know, some comprehensive speed car measures of some description, but until then, I'm advised that investigating no stopping restrictions may go some way towards addressing the issue at this corner in particular.
So Andy, you're looking for advice on
no stopping restrictions.
On no parking, no stopping, yeah.
Yeah, at this corner and just
in the vicinity of that intersection.
Or specific, I'd say specifically at this intersection, and then just by the bend in Donovan Place, which is sort of.
How would you describe that intersection for the record?
Just the intersection of Donovan and Aidenfield.
Yeah, sorry,
yeah. Intersection of Donovan and also on Donovan Place.
The first bend,
First bend.
As per the photos, we'll send the photos.
To the traffic engineer. And the some of the boy racer activity Mike was describing before is taking place in this swale here. So full drives are going in here and having a great time doing donuts and everything else. But sometimes it's at sort of 7 o'clock in the evening when there's people walking around it, walking their dogs. So that'll be a tricky issue to address, but it is happening and important.
Yes, I got a call about it the other day. I said I'd raise it here. And
important. We're aware that it's happening, and it's happening now more regularly. So one to monitor. That's all from the photos. One issue I just had to follow up with CCTV cameras in the Halswell Quarry car park. I'm just wondering if we knew if we were any. Everyone.
Yeah, just having chatted to Nigel recently about security in many of the reserves and parks in the city. It's a huge issue, and it's an ongoing issue. And even what's happening with cameras, even that criminals are actually spray painting the security cameras, and it's an ongoing issue. I'm not sure what we can do to fix it, except maybe have some sort of briefing with our council staff, the rangers, and just
bring back the birch.
think about what can we do. I mean, the other day Nigel was saying someone broke into their shed, used a metal cutter to cut off, get under the trucks and cut out some bits that they wanted to use, took them away, which left all the vehicles inoperable. And so those are the sorts of things that are happening all around the city. So I'm not sure where we go with this, except to perhaps get together and have a bit of a think tank about what we could do.
Well, that's what will hopefully come out of the community safety meeting.
But we were advised that CCTV cameras at the quarry were on the way. So
we were advised that, and I haven't heard anything, but I will inquire.
So I just wanted to check that that's still the case, and if so, how
maybe
far away that might be.
Maybe we do what we were going to do here, just go and buy them and put them up, and then get your money back when it's
something along those lines.
Do a DIY job.
So if possible to find out the progress of that, that would be good. But as Anne mentioned, there's still a much wider issue here as well. Road closures. So we've got we've had a number of road closures around Halswell at the moment, but our board isn't getting start work notices of any of them.
No.
We need the notices. It means we can help communicate with the wider community. Residents in the immediate area will often get a letterbox drop, not always, but often they will get a letterbox drop, but that won't reach people who use those roads every day. So it's critical community board has got those start work notices to help communicate that with the community. If people know why closure is happening and when it's likely to finish, that can make a world of difference.
We used to get them from all over the city. I've still got boxes of them at home. I can bring to you and show you what we used to get 30 years ago. Gone now. Nobody knows what's going on. What happens outside the street, outside your door.
So Sutherland's road closure for 2 months. I understand the work needs to take place, but our board does need to be given a start work notice on something like that because it's a significant closure. I had already raised this one, Matt, so I understand it is being followed up, but something to be mindful of. I imagine it's the case in other wards as well. We need those start work notices. It can actually save a lot of time all around. And lastly, I attended the opening of the new Halls Rugby League club rooms on Saturday.
Yeah.
They look fantastic. Great to finally have them open.
Who cut the ribbon?
I believe that was Life member. Is it Life member Merv Whitaker?
Oh, good, cool.
If I recall.
I didn't know. I wasn't
correctly.
aware of it opening until I
They look
seen it.
fantastic.
Yeah. And it went great. Went great.
Excellent.
Good to
It
have them
looks
open.
very exciting.
They look superb.
Big asset.
That's all from me. Thank
Yeah.
you.
I'll just, can I just make a quick cycle back to Donovan Place, I think it was,
Yeah.
April Drive,
Yeah.
and hearing the description of the speeds there is, excessive, 60, 70 kilometres an hour, and then the idea of taking parking away from that location. We need to be careful doing that, and the fact that that will actually lift the speed because you clear the environment.
Yeah, I'm just talking about on the corner, as my understanding.
Yeah,
right. As because parking all the way down will happen if the market comes back, and so I'm talking
clear visibility for that vehicle.
Yeah, I'm talking right by the corner.
Yeah.
Is
So we'll
understanding.
put the photos through just to say on Haydenfield. I think that's the next cab off the rank in terms of the 40 km/h zones.
It is.
So so Gathon was working on that, and it's going to go a bit wider. So that's coming through to the board. The other thing to say around Haydenfield Drive is obviously the resource consent has gone in for the development across the road, the other side of the state highway. So that's going to change the nature of Haydenfield Drive. We know that there's going to be some lights that are going to go in there at some point. I think in the next couple of years that's coming. So there will be some work happening with Haydenfield Drive. But we'll put that through anyway.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
On that matter, do you know when the speed review is going to be done throughout Haydenfield?
Well, I would say that our traffic staff have been focusing on other areas at the minute. However, some of those things have been resolved tonight. So that'll free up some of their time to get cracking.
Anything else?
Actually, just one last quick circle back. We were dealing with Night Stream tonight.
Yep.
There's also an outstanding issue in Night Stream, I think, Andre, with your notice of motion.
Oh, you raised it at the last meeting. I
And
appreciate
it's
you
still
doing
not come out, is it?
notice of motion from May last year, just regarding 40 road markings throughout the suburb.
I don't think, I was talking to Faye about this earlier, I don't think it's a notice of motion. I think it's actually a board resolution. I think you had a notice of motion and the board have made, it's a technical point, but
Well, the board passed it.
but I think the board's passed, actually it's an action from the board. So it's
Right.
so when you get your actions report, it should be there. The only reason I'm saying that is when you call it a notice of motion, in my mind, it's something that you've asked for that hasn't been resolved. I think the board's actually made a resolution on it. So it's an outstanding action.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Still outstanding, but
I'd just like to add one more thing. Gamal, we love your T-shirt, brother. We love your T-shirt, and you're looking so proud wearing it. Okay, ka pai, brother.
Yeah, ka pai. Thank you.
If there's no further business, then I'll declare the meeting closed, and thank you everybody for your patience, your endurance, and your understanding of each other's points of view. Thank you.